and I'm going to kick us off. Okay, folks, so thanks so much for joining us for the MR5 Town Hall. By the end of this meeting, our goal is that folks are going to have an idea of what to expect in terms of the work that's going to take place in MR5, a better understanding of how that work is aligned with UVA's sustainability goals and overall facilities management goals, but also a really good idea of how to engage with different members of our team, whether that's members of the Office for Sustainability or all the other wonderful stakeholders who are joining today, but you're going to get to know them in a moment with the panel. On our roadmap for today's meeting, we're going to have a chance to meet our panelists really quickly and go through that list. We are going to share a little bit about UVA's Office for Sustainability before we give you a bit more of a deeper dive into the Sustainable Labs program, a specific program within that office. Before we talk about what is next for MR5, what can folks in the building expect, how can they contact us, and then hopefully we'll have time at the end for a Q&A with our panel. Jumping right into it, a lot of y'all already know me, but I want to make sure to introduce myself. I'm going to be facilitating today's session, and I'm Fiona Hogan Bradford. I'm a project associate who works in the UVA Office for Sustainability, and I'm going to help with coordinating work that's happening in MR5. So I've included my computing ID here, and hopefully folks can feel comfortable reaching out to me anytime via email to ask any questions about the MR5 project or the Sustainable Labs program in general. But I'd like to hand it off and go through our panelists today. We have a really fantastic group joining us, and they're going to be available to speak to different parts of this program and answer any questions at the end. But maybe I can pass it off to you, Dave, and you can get it started with an introduction quickly.
Sure. Thanks, Fiona. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dave Brummett. I am with a firm called 3Flow, based in Raleigh, North Carolina. I am a certified industrial hygienist and safety professional, and for 3Flow, I direct our consulting division here. So we are privileged to support the university in laboratory management program development, in performing risk assessments and other evaluative tools within the research laboratory environment. So pleased to be here and part of this team. And I think we go to Jack next.
That would be great.
Yes.
Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Boyle. I'm a Green Labs specialist for the Office for Sustainability. I work with Fiona and I oversee the Green Labs program. I'll talk about the Green Labs program a bit more later on in the presentation, but it has to do very similar with the Smart Labs program. So I'm excited to be here, excited to talk about it, and it's nice to meet all of you. And I'll pass it on to Clarissa.
Hi, everyone. Clarissa Lynch. I'm the Assistant Director for Research Safety and Chemical Safety Officer in the Office of Environmental Health and Safety. We have a wide range of folks from our office that participate in this program as well, and we have a lot of experience and networking with laboratories just like the ones in MR5. So we're here as a support and knowledgeable about the type of research that's going on, and we routinely are already conducting all sorts of risk assessments in our laboratory spaces. All right, and I'll hand it off to Sophia.
Thank you, Clarissa. Hello, everyone. I am Sophia Phillips. I am an Energy and Sustainability Engineer at Office for Sustainability. I will be the project engineer for the MR5 project, and we'll be focusing on the Smart Lab side of the program. I'm going to pass it on to Shannon.
Hey everyone, my name is Shannon Saz, and I am also in the Office for Sustainability here at UVA, and I do outreach and engagement with faculty and staff, and I'll share a little bit more about our office in a moment.
Hello, I'm Randy Spate. I work in the Dean's Office for the School of Medicine, and we manage all the space. We're space management operations.
Thanks for rounding us out there, Randy. We're really lucky to work with the group that's represented by this panel and all the different stakeholders who are involved in this program. I think folks are going to see throughout the presentation what a collaborative effort it is. So very grateful to our panelists for being here today. And I'm going to hand things off to Shannon for a moment to tell us a little bit more about the Office for Sustainability.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'll just get us started by providing a little bit of background information on our office. As you know, our team is a key stakeholder in this project, and we're very fortunate that sustainability is a core priority at the university, coming all the way up from top leadership. And so, yes, we care about the environment, but of course, we're always working at the intersection of people, planet, and profit. So it's a lot more than only the environment. We're working at the intersection of these three core principles. And so not only our team, but our community partners all across grounds are a community of super passionate individuals. And so we're really excited. We love to partner with other buildings, departments, and teams to work towards our sustainability goals, which I'll talk about more in a moment. But just to give you a little bit of an overview, this photo on the right is a photo of our team, the Office for Sustainability. And so our team is kind of split into two different groups. We have our sustainability services folks who are the energy engineers and our sustainable labs program. And so these are probably the people that you'll be working with the most throughout this project. But we also have the outreach and engagement team, which I'm on. And so we're really focused on the people part of sustainability at UVA. And we do that through supporting people and empowering them to make more sustainable behavior changes. And we have tons of educational events and engagement opportunities, which I'll talk about more in a second. And so I'm not going to go into detail here just for the sake of time, but I did just want to give a little bit of an overview of the university's 2030 sustainability goals. And we will share out these slides. And so I've linked here the 2030 sustainability plan, which I would encourage you to check out and skim if you have time or interest, and go and read about our 10 bold goals. But I'll give you a little bit of an overview of some of our core goals that you could be involved in. But we hope to be, or our goal is to be carbon neutral by 2030 and fossil fuel free by 2050. We also have goals to reduce waste, water, and nitrogen, and to increase our sustainable food. And then our other goals are around engagement and discovery, which is really about building accountability, engaging in our community, and building sustainability awareness, and then furthering sustainable research and through more sustainable curriculum and using grounds as a learning tool. And so there are many ways to get involved outside of sustainable labs. We love to work with partners across the university. You can do this in so many ways. These are just a few. One way is to host a zero waste event. And I want to give a shout out to biomedical engineering for already doing this. And so this is when we are able to support your event and provide composting and recycling to make sure that things are getting diverted from the landfill. You could also become a certified green workplace if you're not working in a laboratory or in more of a traditional office space, super similar to the Green Labs program where you get certified. And then you can always reach out to me personally, directly, and request a training for your team. We have several that we can offer, and we can really tailor it to your interests. And then lastly, we have tons of educational events. We have bi-monthly lunch and learns, and the best way to know about those is to stay in the loop by following our newsletter, which is linked here. And then, of course, April is Earth Month. And so Earth Day is coming up in about 2 weeks, and we have over 50 events this month. And I will give a little plug for the Green Labs Resource Fair, which will be on April 24th, and we hope to see you there. And if you ever want to get more involved, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'd love to work with you.
Thank you, Shannon, and thank you for plugging the Green Labs Resource Fair. I think we're definitely going to have Clarissa and some of her teammates there, and hopefully see some other MR5 folks there as well. So Shannon talked a little bit about our UVA institutional sustainability goals, and I think it's important to talk a little bit more about where laboratory spaces fit into those goals. And the connection is honestly really easy to see when we look at the energy footprint of these research spaces. So labs at UVA take up 10% of the space, but use 1/3 of our total energy footprint. And you can see that in the graph here. A large part of that has to do with ventilation, and we're going to spend some more time talking with David about ventilation specifically in laboratories and how we'll be addressing that through this project. And that typically can make up to 50 to 70% of the energy consumption of spaces. But also in laboratory research, you have a lot of equipment that has a big energy footprint and other resources too. But specifically, when we think about cold storage units, those -80 ultra low temperature units can use as much energy as one household, average American household, in a single day. So there are lots of resources that Jack is going to highlight a little bit later too that are available through the Green Labs program to think more about that footprint. And it's definitely worth examining when we're talking about MR5, because this is a building that specifically has a large cold storage footprint. I think when I pulled the last inventory numbers, I saw over 140 cold storage units. So that footprint is big, but so is the footprint of chemical fume hoods. And these are really important exposure control devices, and closing that sash on those fume hoods is essential for researchers' safety, but it also saves a large amount of energy, or it can, depending on the technology we're talking about. But with certain types of fume hoods, variable air volume flow fume hoods, you can save as much as 3.5 homes worth of energy when those hoods are closed. So there's a really important safety benefit that we want to highlight first and foremost, but also there are other benefits in terms of sustainability down the road and the impact that individual researchers can have. So that tells you a little bit more about why we have a sustainable labs program, but I also want to share a little bit about some of the terminology you're going to hear. And we talk a lot about 2 different approaches through this program. And the one side of this is the Smart Labs program. And so when we're talking about Smart Labs, we're really thinking about the top-down approach, where there's this facility scale energy and laboratory risk management. And a lot of what we're sharing about today is Smart Labs work that's going to happen in MR5. But we also are going to highlight and hear from Jack more about the Green Labs program. And this is more of a bottom-up approach, where we're thinking about the laboratory scale, the individual researcher, and what behavior change can do in a lab. And it's really wonderful that we're able to do both, because there's so much opportunity in laboratory research spaces to have an impact, but especially when we're combining both approaches and looking at each building and its unique footprint a little bit more. So we're hoping that this whole panel's resources are going to be leveraged to support MR5's particular sustainability journey. And what that might mean for this building is looking more at cold storage, but also a lot of these like smart labs opportunities that Sophia is going to tell us a little bit more about soon. But I want to share, before we get into the details of Smart Labs, and I'm going to hand things over to David in a moment, but when we're talking about Smart Labs, this also isn't a framework that is unique to UVA by any means. In fact, the Federal Energy Management Program has a Smart Lab accelerator toolkit that's available for anyone to take a look at, and it's linked to this presentation, and of course we will share the slides afterwards. But there are tons of different groups you can see on the map in the top right that are already implementing these smart lab techniques. And that's because what we're really doing is optimizing for safety and efficiency in these spaces. And the Department of Energy, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, the UC school systems, MIT, Johns Hopkins, all of these are dabbling with smart labs and implementing really strong programs that look at those safety and efficiency opportunities. But core to the Smart Labs work that we're doing is really this collaboration with all of the different stakeholder groups represented by our panelists today, but especially the occupants of the building. And working closely with those researchers and having open communication with y'all, hearing the feedback from the building, that is a really key part of making this a successful program. So I just want to emphasize that we really value that opportunity to communicate with occupants in the building. And in case you didn't know, excuse me, MR4, your next door neighbor, is actually a Smart Labs project that's been going on for some time. And what we've seen in that building is 30% energy savings in 2023 alone from a 2019 baseline, and over $2 million avoided in energy costs. So this is a model that is working for UVA, and we're really excited to be able to iterate it in MR5 and find all of those opportunities in this specific building. With that being said, I'm going to pass things off to David, who is representing 3Flow, and 3Flow is a consultant that's working with us on this project. David, and they're going to be focused on one specific part of the Smart Labs recipe that he'll be able to share more details about, and you'll eventually hopefully see him in your lab. So David, you want to take it from here?
Sure. Thanks, Fiona. And again, I appreciate everybody's time here this afternoon. I am with 3Flow. As I mentioned earlier, we have worked with the university and other buildings in supporting sustainable projects and programs at your university. So we've been around for about 30 years. Just to give you a quick background on who we are, we're a relatively small firm. We started a long time ago in testing fume hoods. We are intimately involved in the sustainable laboratory business. We are made up of industrial hygienists and engineers that work to try and locate the right flow in the right place at the right time. We're trying to right-size buildings to be first and foremost meeting the needs of the occupants, and with that, trying to optimize airflow systems. Obviously, research labs have, as Fiona alluded to earlier, move a lot of air. So we want to take a holistic look at the environment, the operations, get information from the occupants, which is critical in any type of assessment, and use that to identify the baselines where airflows need to be met at a minimum. And with that, we can then turn that over to design teams, which can utilize, take further information and come up with proper solutions for buildings. So if we can go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about the uniqueness of particular laboratories. Labs, as we know, are not one size fits all. They are different types of labs. Different orientations of labs have different design and operational requirements. So the needs for chem labs or even biolabs differ largely from those maybe in clean room environments. Animal procedure rooms are very unique. Teaching labs are handled entirely differently. So the period of occupancy, the potential for generation, a lot of factors are different in these particular labs. And within each type of labs, it can be different from room to room or system to system. So a different approach is needed instead of just a prescriptive remedy for air change rates, which is traditionally up until about 10 to 20 years ago was the elected process. Next slide, please, Fiona. As I said, labs are not all one size fits all. This example of a building floor plan, laboratory floor plan, locates some centrally located laboratory environments with some support spaces surrounding them, administrative offices on the perimeters. Every layout's different. So how do we approach it? First, we want to see where the risks are. We want to know what activities may be contributing to that risk. And if so, are there special safety measures required? These are very important factors for us so that we can make the determination of where the most critical needs for ventilation are, and use a risk-based approach to provide the proper amounts in the proper locations. Next slide, please. So we know safety requires adequate ventilation, and safety measures are needed. So, within a typical laboratory environment, hazards can be located. Hopefully, the most significant hazards are handled within an exposure control device, namely a glove box or a fume hood. But activities on the benchtop can contribute. Other items in the laboratory environments can contribute to the need for airflow, and transfer airflow has to be considered with that as well too. So the approach is to determine what is the risk to the occupant, and to make certain that ventilation meets or exceeds the protective capabilities of the lab meter exceed those risks presented to the occupants. And we're just, illustrating a handful of potential environments here. Next slide, please. So the approach we take, one that we've developed over some time in concert or in conjunction with UC Irvine in U.S. Department of Energy, is the laboratory ventilation risk assessment. This eliminates the need to just grab at a super high number for ventilation needs. Within the LVRA activities, we survey the labs and the systems. We take a look at the exposure control devices that are in the labs, as well as the laboratory environment themselves. So we look at each in a different different optic, if you will. We also assess the ventilation systems as a whole. This is a combination of activities. A site visit is performed to do it. We walk through labs briefly. We coordinate and schedule with lab users. We're never an unexpected guest. And your feedback and your opportunity to speak with us and provide information is critical to the success of the LVRA. With all that information, we use a numerical scoring system applied to an algorithm, and we determine safety measures that are required based on the actual scores within the lab. So, and I'm glad to talk more about that outside the call or after entertaining questions as part of this session as well too. But there's a lot of minutia that goes to it. But ultimately, we want to give the basis for airflow and operational specifications, so we can recommend baselines for fume hood flows, for lab air changes, for pressurization, and even go so far as to come up with exhaust stack discharge requirements. So it all fits within and correlates with the spectrum of risk that you can see a sample of here. Our scale is 0 to 4. Each band value has its own set of minimum corresponding requirements. So next slide, please. And I believe this is Clarissa, who will now talk about what some of this information is used for. So.
All right, so so EHS is a key partner in the entire Smart Labs program, and as you may expect, we have a number of staff who are regularly in our lab spaces. So we understand how these labs are being used, the type of research that's being done, what type of ventilation needs are needed by the research activity that's being conducted. So we have staff that are able to contribute to this risk assessment process. And not only that, but we're regularly consulting and assessing and mitigating risk, on a case-by-case basis for any laboratory that requests any type of consult like that. So we're very familiar with these spaces, and we are obviously strong advocates for safety of our researchers, and here to support all of the activities from both perspectives. We have the folks on the right side. We have our laboratory safety team, we have our biosafety team, and also our industrial hygienists who are the most active in our spaces, conducting laboratory inspections, conducting the chemical fume hood annual certifications, also biosafety inspections, and annual biosafety cabinet inspections. We have staff that are in the spaces regularly to do our waste pickups. So we have eyes on these spaces very regularly, and we have existing relationships with laboratory personnel, and are just here overall to support the process, and also provide just some supporting information that we are knowledgeable about from the UVA side.
Thank you, Clarissa. We're super lucky to have strong partnerships with EHS and be able to tap into all of your expertise and knowledge and that institutional experience. It's really helpful to this program. We're also very lucky to have wonderful relationships with the School of Medicine. So on that note, I'm going to hand things over to Randy.
Hello, I'm Randy, as stated earlier. Just a little bit of history about the building and kind of what our department does. So I won't read it to you, but hey, MR5 was built in 2002, and right now we have 4 departments that take up the majority of the building by VME, CVRC, ophthalmology, and pathology. It's also the home of the main office for the vivarium folks. And then they're down on the ground level. And then we also have a loading dock that is manned, and that reports up through our office that manages all the package deliveries for, they receive them in and deliver them for MR5 and MR6, as well as the medical education building, but mainly MR5 and 6 research packages. As you can see, the square footage is 164,000 square feet. I don't know, I don't have the assignable square footage in front of me, but that's gross. That includes all the, circulation space. It's right there off of Lane Road. It's attached to MR6. And Bruce, everybody knows, mostly everybody on here probably knows Bruce Shipley. He's our space manager. Blythe Shannon, she's our project manager, and then myself, we're comprised of the space team, and then we have 3 dock personnel, 1 that works out of this building and 2 that work out of Penn Hall. And the dock guys, they're interchangeable, so they cover for each other, so they're in and out of this building as well. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. We manage all the projects in the building. We also we're involved with any type of renovation that's requested. And we also monitor all the space assignments in the building, and that comes through the space team, which myself and Blythe are a part of, to decide who uses what space.
Thank you, Randy. We're very lucky to have that intel too, and to be collaborating closely with y'all. But I'm going to pass things off to Sophia Phillips, who's going to tell us a little bit more about what we've got planned for MR5.
Thank you, Fiona. And hello, everyone, Sophia again. And I will walk you through some of the sustainable measures that are going to be implemented under the Smart Labs umbrella. And first, I want to tell you a little bit about the lighting system upgrades in the building. So if your space is happen to be on the 3rd floor, you probably have already seen us going in and out and working on the mock-up space up there. And we're essentially upgrading all the lighting fixtures to LED lights to improve the light quality and efficiency. And you can see the before and after photos on the right, and the differences are literally night and day. And during this process, we are also going to install new dimmable wall pads and adding occupancy sensors to the spaces. And we're expecting to start the whole building upgrades in May. So stay tuned for scheduling updates. And next slide, please. Another measure that will be implemented is the retrocommissioning process. So this is essentially a building system diagnostic process. And engineers will come into the building and test out all the air handlers, pumps, and other components throughout the building, and identify issues and provide recommendations on repairs, also upgrades that are much needed for the building. And then back to the lab ventilation risk assessment that Dave talked about earlier. So when building are first designed, the owners and designers mostly won't know for sure who is moving into each spaces. And that usually causes some over-design system. So under the Smart Lab program, we will have the industrial hygienist, in this case, reflow, to walk through each labs and talk to all the occupants and determine the appropriate airflow for each lab. And then we will also work very closely with EHS during this process and making sure that the lab safety is never being compromised during the airflow adjustment process. And that's a little bit about the Smart Lab program, and I will hand this off to Jack to talk about Green Labs in the building.
Great, thank you. So to begin, and as Fiona has already described, the Sustainable Labs program is split into two initiatives. The first one being Smart Labs, the second one is the Green Labs. Green Labs differs from Smart Labs by being an initiative where it is entirely a person in lab focused, meaning that we engage directly with PIs, lab managers, grad students, and undergrads to foster an attitude of sustainability from the bottom up. The most important thing that the Green Labs program does is instilling the enthusiasm and confidence for labs undertaking best practices of laboratory sustainability. And the way that we've been accomplishing this is by the 4 key components of our program. It is the Green Labs Working Group, the certification, the freezer, challenge, and set the stash. These components help build community, foster enthusiasm around sustainability, and have made a significant contribution to decreasing lab environmental footprints and slashing energy, material, and water waste. And featured in this slide on the bottom photo is actually members of the Graduate Biomedical Engineering Society. Noah, Tor, and Sam celebrating their Sustainable Leadership Award that they recently received, and they received this award for their contributions to sustainability within their own lab and within the Department of Biomedical Engineering. Next slide, please. Thanks. So it is particularly exciting that MR5 is becoming a smart lab building because of its history with lab sustainability and with Green Labs, largely because of the Department of Biomedical Engineering and the students in GBMES. MR5 has become one of the most involved lab buildings in sustainability. Over 70% of the labs in the building have participated in at least one of Green Labs' 4 core components, and a very impressive 15 labs have achieved Gold Green Lab certification, making MR5 the building with the most certifying Green Labs on campus. Yeah, so speaking of Green Lab certification, now would be a great time to highlight this, our flagship initiative in the Green Labs program. Many of you might be well familiar with the certification, being so that it's statistically possible that you and your lab have probably already been Green Lab certified. But for those who are not familiar, the Green Lab certification is the most comprehensive guideline for lab sustainability that we offer at UVA. Completing the certification is proof that your lab has taken the steps necessary to address your responsibility to sustainable resource management and environmental stewardship. The way that the certification kind of works is that there are 45 different sustainable actions on this form in 5 different disciplines of lab sustainability, ranging from cold storage sustainability to chemical sustainability. And there are incredibly amount of actions to complete. However, it's only required that you complete 20 of these actions to become a gold certified Green Lab. We've included so many as to tailor fit the sustainability certification for any lab that might want to be interested in getting it. And so once a lab becomes a Green Lab, it gains accolades beyond its improved environmental footprint. Next slide, please. Yeah. Oh, actually, can you go back? Sorry, I wanted to talk about. Thank you. A couple more of the accolades. So, for example, I guess the most recent lab to get Green Lab certified is Dr. David Green's lab in the Department of Materials Sciences. By getting Green Lab certified, he received university-wide recognition for his efforts. In addition, he received a gold plaque that's hanging right in front of his lab. In addition, each member of his lab got a nice little glass beaker mug that they get to use every day. And the entire lab now uses sustainable language in the grants that they're writing and are adding the Green Lab certification to their lab's list of accomplishments. All right, yeah, maybe next slide, please, Fiona. And so, yeah, very quickly, one of the other three core components of the Green Labs program, the last one that I'd like to highlight is the International Freezer Challenge. The reason being is that this is the challenge is currently going on, and I love to encourage everybody to sign up for it. So brought to you by the organization My Green Labs, the Freezer Challenge encourages labs to make a significant decrease in energy consumption by implementing a few maintenance practices that cut energy and prolong the life of your freezers. The challenge is going until July, and it's incredibly easy to sign up and start filling out a score sheet. At the end of this challenge, My Green Labs calculates how much energy, how much kilowatt hours of energy your lab saves each year by participating in this challenge and acting on some of the best practices. And then they award the institution who has saved the most energy. So currently, and there are a couple months left, currently UVA is tied for second in this challenge with Johns Hopkins University, and the University of Michigan is currently leading. So this challenge does a great job at fostering friendly competition while also getting the news out about how to cut energy in your lab. In addition to the inter-university freezer challenge, we also have an intra-university freezer challenge. Highlighted to the right of this slide is the Kibitilish lab, who actually won the intra-university freezer challenge last year. They took home the title along with trophy, a little party, a blog post, and general recognition for their efforts. So if anybody's interested in participating in one of our core components, please be sure to reach out to us at greenlabs@virginia.edu to get started. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. It's really wonderful to see all the momentum we've already had with folks in MR5 and School of Medicine more broadly. So we're really grateful for that relationship with occupants and hope that it is going to make it more seamless when we're trying to do work in that building. In terms of next steps and what folks can anticipate moving forward with this project, where we're at now is at the point where we'd like to really promote this occupant engagement survey. I'm going to be sending that out more broadly, but it helps us have a better sense for how people are using the space. This town hall is also, like I said, going to be recorded and disseminated, so folks are welcome to access it at any point and reach out to panelists if they have further questions. You're also likely going to see Sophia Phillips and myself tabling in MR5 so that we have an in-person opportunity for folks to casually stop by and ask some questions. So you can expect that information coming later this month, along with hopefully schedules for lighting upgrades beginning in May. We're hoping to finalize those schedules in the coming week and have them sent out. In the future, you can expect to see anything that pertains to construction happening in your lab space. You'll likely receive an email from me that's sent to all the building occupants. When we have other opportunities for engagement, they'll be shared through the department. But if folks have questions or want to connect about this project at any point, are concerned about a project schedule that's been shared with them, I encourage you to reach out to me and I'll make myself available. But after those lighting upgrades, we will then move into the phase where we'll be doing retro commissioning, and that'll be a lighter touch, but there will be emails sent out about what you can expect and what that'll look like in your space. And similarly, the lab ventilation risk assessments. As we move through the process, we'll want to try to optimize different building systems for energy savings and safety. And that'll be an ongoing process for some time that's going to require the collaboration of all of these stakeholders. I want to highlight that the International Freezer Challenge is going on till June. As Jack mentioned, you can always reach out through greenlabs@virginia.edu. And there are lots of opportunities to continue engaging on that bottom up level, as well as that top down level by filling out the survey. So again, this is the survey that's going to be sent out to folks. If you'd like to go ahead and take it now, you can fill out the screen, but also you can find it on our website. If you go to sustainability.virginia.edu, there is a whole section on sustainable labs, a tab on smart labs where you're going to find this survey, as well as a section on green labs where you're going to find a lot of the resources to engage with the core components that Jack talked about. Okay, I've done a lot of talking and I would love to see if folks in the audience have any questions. I'm going to stop sharing.
I've got a quick one. With this change in how they do the ventilation, adjusting it to the needs, is there going to be some process where should the space be transferred to somebody else or something like that, that it would be automatically reevaluated, or will we just have to remember to ask for that?
Lloyd, that's a really wonderful question. And actually, that's something that we're in the process of working on right now, and that Christine Alencar has been supporting, especially is thinking about this larger lab ventilation management plan for the university and how we're going to track that specific change, because we know that that completely changes how the space is used often. At this point, we're really relying on our close relationships with Randy's team to get notifications of that change. And so we'd encourage you to make sure that you're communicating with him actively, and it'll come through to our team that way. But in the future, we might try to demo different, more efficient ways of tracking that change. Christine, do you have anything you want to add there? Okay. So yeah, Randy's your man for this. His team is on top of it. As long as you're communicating closely with them, then we should be able to track those changes too.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
I'll go ahead and ask another one. An estimate of like how long, the lab people always freak out about any interruption in their work. Any estimate about how long it's going to take when you get into there to do the lighting changes and so forth? And will you have to shut the lab down?
Sophia, do you want to talk about this a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So we are expecting each lab will need about a day and a half to 2 days to do the lighting upgrade. So that will include all the fixture upgrade and install occupancy sensors and controls components. And during this process, we will have to have the lab cleared out because there's going to be a lot of movement in the ceiling. But we will cover up all the equipment, making sure that there will be minimum dusting, and we'll also do a clean lab afterwards.
Thanks.
And Lloyd, it'll be really helpful if we can hear from you if you have specific folks you're thinking of that have particularly sensitive pieces of equipment that we're going to want to be really thoughtful about. That'll be really helpful to hear from you or those occupants about that, so we can be going into it with that in mind.
Yeah, we also have particularly sensitive people, so there's that's the other side.
Oh yeah, lots of those working with researchers, and we really embrace that curiosity, and we want to know how to work with people. So if they have feedback, we're definitely open to hearing it.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? I know Nicole is on the call, and her lab is right next to the mock-up space. So hopefully they're looking forward to it and happy about what's to come. But I encourage folks to stop by and check it out if they haven't already. The mock-up space is on the 3rd floor. Okay, y'all, if there are no other questions, we can go ahead and wrap things up and give folks back a few minutes of their day. But I would encourage people to reach out at any point via email if they'd like more information. And as I mentioned, there's lots of stuff available on our website. I'll be sharing out these slides and the QR code, and hopefully eventually the recording. But please, if you're running into people who have questions or concerns about what's to come, send them my way and I'll be more than happy to talk to them. I want to say thank you very much to our panelists today. This program is what it is because of our incredible stakeholders and collaborators here. So thank you all so much for your time. And we're looking forward to kicking off this project with a little bit more momentum. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank you.